Hi everyone, my name's Dimitri and welcome back to DimitriTube, Fboy Island, episode 3 review. Let's go. As always, if you're enjoying my reviews, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell. Okay, so let's dive in and start talking about the episode. So quick word on the intro, there's just two things I want to mention here. First, Charlie made it to Limbro, so I guess whatever issue he was having with production, he worked it out. Second, the girls are chatting in the villa, and it seems like the girls are basing whether or not these guys are F-boys on how they look. But it doesn't make sense because when we go to the eliminations, they're not picking the guys who look like F-boys. Because if we were basing it on looks, Casey and Colin would have already went home. Moving on, so next, Nikki Glaser comes and talks to everyone on the beach and lets them know they're all about to do a photo shoot. So the girls pick the guys they want to have a photo shoot with, and Cameron gets picked last. In the confessional, Cameron says his friends are going to make fun of him because he was picked last. And I'm like, boo, you worried about the wrong things. Like, is this high school? Before the photo shoot begins, Nikki Glaser also brings in 3 brand new guys. Welcome, Jomar, and New Jarred. And New Jarred looks straight up like Russell Wilson, Sierra's husband, and the quarterback of the Seahawks. Now, I think it was very smart for HBO to plan a photo shoot as a date. Most of these people are going to be Instagram influencers anyway, so why not put them to work early? But I will say, I thought this date was kind of boring. The only thing that made it slightly entertaining was all the commentary from the other guys as they're modeling. Also, this photo shoot was almost borderline softcore. Now I finally get why HBO labeled this show TVMA. So after that, during the photo shoot, the Jarreds get into a very petty argument. And last thing I want to say to wrap up the photo shoot date, CJ's outfits are so skanky. So it is 2021, women are empowered, they can wear whatever they want. But at the same time, if you truly wanted to get to know these guys and have these guys get to know you for your mind and not just your body, you would tone it down a bit. This may not sound politically correct or whatever, but I just gotta be honest. Like literally, these 2 outfits that CJ wore for dates, no man is gonna be paying attention to whatever she's saying. So now we're going into the night portion of the day. Immediately when the women walk in, OG Jarred goes to talk to Nakia. And he explains to her the argument he got in with the new Jarred. Now I'm really starting to think OG Jarred is a good guy. From the jump, he tries to talk to Nakia. He is completely honest about the fight. He defends himself and he tries to explain the story before all the rumors start circulating. And I think that was a really smart move. And while they're talking, new Jarred comes in and basically bulldozes their conversation. Now I'm starting to think new Jarred is a pawn because new Jarred literally goes out of his way to disrespect OG Jarred. So after that, Nakia has a one-on-one with New Jarred, and they don't really say much. Also, I feel like Nakia and New Jarred really have no connection. And then after that, a camera pans to the guys, and they're being kind of rowdy, and CJ says she's getting tired of the guys' antics and them being so into one another. I thought that was so dumb because when you put 20 plus guys in a house, this is what happens. It basically turns into a frat house. Whereas if you put 20 plus women in a house, normally there would be like a lot of drama. Literally, the exact same thing happens on The Bachelorette. Okay, so now I'm about to go into the one-on-ones. If I do not mention one of them, it's just because nothing really happened. Okay, so the first one-on-one we have is with Welcome and Sarah. And yes, his name is Welcome. So I don't even remember what question Sarah asked him, but the first question she should have asked him was why his parents named him Welcome. And I really wish Sarah did ask that because honestly, that would have been way more interesting than whatever question she did ask. Next, we have a one-on-one with CJ and Casey. During the one-on-one, CJ tells Casey that he's a fixer-upper. And honestly, I would have been so offended. And CJ also says, I'm just concerned I won't have time to do the renovation you need. Okay, so before we unpack this, I do gotta say something. So on this show so far, HBO does not reveal the guys' ages. So I think this was a smart move on HBO because in general, the younger guys are more likely to be F-boys, whereas the older guys are less likely to be F-boys. So hiding the ages does make it a little more difficult for the audience. Now, I looked up their ages. You could easily Google it, but I'm not gonna tell y'all because I won't spoil it. But CJ and Casey do have a little bit of an age gap. And I truly think CJ saying this comes from a place of dating someone younger, not necessarily someone dating an F-boy. Like, I feel like CJ is really considering a life with Casey and the gears are really turning in her head. And ultimately, I think CJ thinks Casey has more growing up to do, and CJ's trying to figure out if she has time to wait for him to do the growing up that she wants. Moving on, we have a one-on-one with Colin and Nakia. So during the one-on-one, Colin asks Nakia why she rejected his kiss during the photo shoot. And Nakia responds and says, I redirected you. When it's right, you'll know. So first of all, I think Nakia did the right thing for rejecting the kiss, and I would have done the same thing. I think it is so disrespectful for one of the women to kiss one of the guys in front of all the other guys. Also, Colin trying to kiss Nakia in that type of situation, to me, seems like more of a flex than it does Colin trying to build an actual romantic connection. And for that, I'm gonna go ahead and lock in. I think Colin is an F-boy. Colin just has way too many moments of competitiveness, and it seems to come from a place of wanting to win the show and not from a place of jealousy, and for that, I just think he's an F-boy. Also, I'm trying to catch up with the episodes as fast as I can, so please, please, please do not spoil anything in the comments. I appreciate it. Thank you in advance. Next, so after that, the Jarreds get into a fight and Nakia gets into the middle of it and stops it. So first of all, let me just say, I cannot with OG Jarred's pants. These are not cute. So this fight with the Jarreds is the perfect example of why I think Colin is an F-boy. OG Jarred is arguing with new Jarred because he truly thinks that the new Jarred is trying to play her, and OG Jarred is trying to protect Nakia. OG Jarred's feelings are coming from a place of wanting to protect Nakia and being slightly jealous over the new Jarred, whereas Colin's competitiveness just seems to come from just wanting to win the show. So after that, Nakia and OG Jarred have a one-on-one and they're talking about the fight. And when they're talking, OG Jarred says he wants to move on and talk about something else, but then Nakia says, no, we're not gonna move on, we're gonna keep talking about this. Now, when Nakia did that, that made me really feel like she's not looking for love. Jarred is trying to move on and get to know her more, but Nakia's like, no, let's talk about this fight some more. Now, it's possible that production forced Nakia to keep talking about the fight, but I don't know. Now, Nakia says she's looking for love and wants a nice guy, but a lot of her actions say otherwise, and this is one of them. Okay, so now we're moving on to elimination, and Nikki Glaser tells the cast that Ryan has left the island for a medical emergency. We didn't get to know Ryan at all, so it wasn't really a big deal, but this must have been a serious medical emergency. So I was listening to a podcast with Nikki Glaser, and she says that at the time of filming, there was no on the Cayman Islands. Also, shows like this have medics on staff in case something goes down. So if it's something the medics couldn't handle, and if it wasn't, it must have been something really serious. If anyone knows what happened, let me know below in the comments. Also, production ain't for making the two Jarreds sit right next to each other. So for elimination, the women put up Kevin, Jamie, Matthew, Mark, Chris, and Fernando. So we don't know any of these guys that were put in the bottom, and the reasons the women gave for putting them in the bottom, I mean, they could be true, but we never saw any of it on camera. Also, the women state that a couple of the men have not made an effort to get to know all of the women. I thought that was like a little weird. I feel like if I was competing on this show, I would only try to get to know one of the women. I feel like if you try to get to know all three of them, it would appear like you're trying to play them. So I thought that was kind of weird. So initially, Jamie, Chris, and Mark were eliminated. But CJ tells the host that she wants Chris to stay and she still wants to get to know him. So Nikki responds and says 3 people still have to go. Do you want to sacrifice someone to save Chris? CJ says yes, and she sacrifices Matthew and keeps Chris. So Jamie, Matthew, and Mark all get sent home, and it is revealed that they are all nice guys. So I thought this was kind of weird because why was this not brought up before elimination? HBO is constantly showing scenes of these women collaborating and talking about who they think are nice guys and who they think are F-boys. So if CJ wanted to keep Chris, I feel like she would have told Nakia and Sarah that before they went into elimination. Next, we have to talk about casting. In my opinion, casting did a superb job of finding attractive men for this show. But given who's left, the F-boys are more physically attractive than the nice guys. And they also seem to be more of the women's type. Like, no shade, but none of the women were into Mark. And regardless to whether or not Mark was a nice guy, none of the women had a connection with him, and it seems like none of the women were attracted to him either. The same goes with Matthew. Matthew has had basically zero camera time up to this point, so I can only assume that none of the girls were really attracted to him, so they didn't give him any time. So this show is making me realize maybe all of the attractive, nice guys were taken, and this is just what HBO had left. Next thing I want to mention, when Nakia eliminated Jamie, she said she knew he was a nice guy. Again, Nakia claims she's looking for love and wants a nice guy, but she's eliminating guys that she knows are nice guys. Like, girl, what are you doing? Again, Nakia says one thing, but her actions are saying the opposite. So it's really making me question if she's truly looking for love. Okay, so after that, before the guys exit, Matthew decides to spill all the tea. Matthew tells everyone that Garrett said back in LA, he likes to LA hoes. And if he was back home, he wouldn't have given any of these women the time of day. But quick sidebar, he actually would have given CJ the time of day, because when I was putting together my episode 1 review, I was rewatching a little bit of the episode, and Garrett definitely tried to go after CJ initially before going after Sarah, but CJ was giving him no attention back, so I guess Garrett decided to move on. Next, Matthew also says that Garrett has a girlfriend and Greg has a girlfriend. So Greg stays quiet and does not respond, and Garrett admits that he had a girlfriend before the show, and before he went on, they decided to take a break. Garrett's response clearly showed that he was an F-boy. I'll just go ahead and play the clip.
I would say that, she's probably hurt for sure. Just because, again, no, I'm saying the truth. I mean, she was definitely hurt. Right before coming here, it was one of those things where we had the discussion. I mean, it's such a fresh relationship,
I mean, just at this point, just stop talking.
Garrett's response was just so condescending. I would be shocked if he stays past next week. Honestly, if he wanted to stay in the competition, he should have just lied and denied the whole thing. And just one more thing I want to say, I was kind of surprised that production allowed Matthew to rat everyone out. I just felt like, doesn't that kind of ruin the game a little bit? Now, if I was one of the women on the show, I honestly just wouldn't trust anyone. But at this point, Matthew has been eliminated and he's been shown to be a nice guy. So I feel like you can trust what he says. Also, he just got eliminated and has nothing to lose, so why not give up some info? But for those reasons, I'm surprised that production let him do it. So I'm guessing production allowed him to do it just because they wanted some more drama. Also, they probably needed to push the storyline along, so I think that's why they let him do it. And that is the end of my review and all I have for you. If you enjoyed today's review, please go ahead and pound that like button, pound that subscribe button, and ring that notification bell, and I will see you all next time. Have a good one. Bye.